Good afternoon. I'm here to share with you this new book that I just created. It's been a while since I've been with you because this one took me about 5 weeks to completely design and put together. It is an Alice in Wonderland book. The covers have marble papers that I did. It is bound with the 2-needle Coptic, or more appropriately the Ethiopian Coptic stitch. The closure is a hitch post and ribbon. I was challenging myself to do this book after reading some posts on Junk Journal Junkies where they were asking about doing pop-ups inside junk journals. So you can see it's an Alice in Wonderland journal. And this is the first pop-up, which is a V-fold, and I'm going to cover some of that in the tutorial at the end of this video. Pockets on both sides, and I created 5 large tags for this book. This is one of 2 envelopes that have writing paper that I designed for the book. Another pocket. There are some poems in here that were part of not only Alice in Wonderland, but Through the Looking Glass, that I found just very precious. This has a little bit different type of pop-up, and once again I'll be explaining that in the end. Another pocket. There's 3 varieties of writing paper in the book. This one just has quotes. I used original artwork from the Lewis Carroll version of the book. This is the second envelope. This is another pop-up that works this direction. And this is Alice looking through the little tiny door, and then you can open it up to see the full garden. Another one of the 5 tags that I designed. A pocket here. I've got another poem, The Jabberwocky, that I haven't printed out that I want to go in there. Another of the poems. Another pop-up page. This one opens this way. And then beside it is one that opens this way. Another type of writing paper. Another pocket and tag on this side. The tea party pop-up. Oh, this is a pocket. And then the final pop-up. So, I briefly want to go through a tutorial of some of the things that I used to create this book. If you look under More below the video, you will see that I have links to a lot of things. So the first thing I did was buy myself a copy of Alice in Wonderland, go through and mark out quotes and things that I wanted to use, and download from the internet all of the original artwork that I could find from the first book. I then created this mock-up, which uses some laser printed images on sheet paper just so that I knew that I was getting the proportions and things right. There are differences between my mock-up and the final version because I did things a little differently. What I wanted to concentrate on this little bit of a tutorial is 3 of the pop-ups because I use 3 different kinds of pop-ups in this book. One is called a V-fold, and basically a V-fold is a piece of imagery that's folded in half. A glue tab is folded up and some material released from the bottom so that the V-fold can be placed in various orientations depending on how you want the pop-up to behave. This is actually a V-fold. If you can imagine it being a little taller and the cards going across the middle and things are removed. Now in this orientation, when the book closes, as you can see as the book starts to close, it's folding forward. And that's because of the way that I place the feet and the fold. The first one of Alice sitting on the riverbank, it was oriented this way because she was tall and I wanted her to fold into the book up in the other direction so that she would be hidden by the pages. The other thing that I've done here, which is important, is this is the little foot, and to disguise some of the foot, I created some more of the little cards. I actually bought a deck of Alice in Wonderland cards and just copied them so that I could cut them out teeny-tiny to go on here, and figured out where things go. Another thing that important deal here is that when you go to glue something like this down, you glue the first side down with your fold into your center mark here. And after you've let that glue dry, you fold up your tab, put your glue here, and then fold the book shut, burnish it, let the glue dry a little bit, and then it finds its own place to be on the book. If you try to measure an angle and glue these tabs down without doing this method, you're going to find that things are going to pull and tear because it's not really situated exactly where it needs to be. So you glue one side and then the other. So that is the V-fold. And like I said, I used that a couple of times. The other type of pop-up that I used is this propping strap. And this is a very common pop-up for cards and the like. And what it is made up of is a glue tab, a distance from the back part of the seam, the height of your pop-up item. Here, one's taller than the other. And then this is also the distance. So how did I determine the distance? Well, for Alice here, she could only come so far forward without, as the book closed, her head coming out. So what I did was I laid her down with her head at the end here and said, okay, that's as far away as she can possibly go. And I placed her, and then I wanted this to be in front of her, the table, so its distance is a little bit more. When you go to glue these, again, you need to let the tabs find their own place to rest. So these are kind of out of order. This is glued second. So what I did was I glued this part down, folded all my tabs, scored and folded all my tabs, put my glue down, closed my book, smashed it down, and it found where it needed to be. My double stick tape is no longer double sticking, but I think you get the general idea. The third kind of pop-up I did is something called a floating platform, and I use that for the table in the tea party and for this Cheshire cat. And that is made up of these pieces. You take 2 items that are the same and glue them together. That's what's done here. This distance here is determined by the height you want him off the page, and I chose a 1/2 inch. That seemed to be the best for me. Once again, you put glue on one side, put this in the middle, then put the glue on the other side, close the book, and let this determine where it wants to be. Then I folded the cat in half, stuck him in here, and folded it shut again, let that glue set up a little bit. But if you don't glue the sides of his head or his bottom, then things will just pop up like that. So in order to create the other part of this, and these are of course not the right size, you glue down a support where this side is parallel to this one. It's the same height up, and then you glue his head here. Of course I would have had to make this a lot narrower. And you also do that on the other side. The important thing is that these are parallel so that this whole thing moves like a parallelogram. If you're a mathematician, when it folds, it all folds together to the side. Learning to do this is not as hard as I'm probably making it look. I depend on a couple of different sources when I'm designing pop-ups. One are these books from Carol Barton. She goes all about different kinds of V-folds, and then she has this one on platforms and props. And I use these primarily. She has another volume that's a little bit different. It's more about cards, and I don't do cards. The other book that I rely on is this one by Duncan Birmingham, and it's very detailed and very helpful, but even better, Duncan has the pop-up channel on YouTube, and he goes through like 28 or 30 videos going through each kind of pop-up and how to make them, and then showing you examples of their use in actual books. And so that is how I learned to do pop-ups. And I think that if you take the time and watch the videos, you can learn this too and have as much fun as I did. See you again soon. Bye.